Okay, here we go. We're back, Greg.
Hey,
Welcome.
thank you.
We're ready to talk some amazing stuff today. We've been having a good time. Before we get started, welcome to Healthy Ever After, a podcast where we discuss all things weight loss and sustainable lifestyle improvements. We'd like to remind everyone this is for educational and informational purposes only, not intended as medical advice, and not intended, certainly not to replace your personal relationship with your medical provider. And so we recommend that you always check with your medical provider before starting any weight loss program, supplements, or other medication. So with that out of the way, let's talk about, we last week, I think we talked about some activity and movement and things. And,
Sure.
And I think let's tone it down a little bit today.
Yeah.
Talk about
opposite direction.
Direction, right? How does sleep affect our metabolism and our weight loss and our overall health? Like, should we dive into that a little bit?
Yeah, let's dive in. Sometimes we do talk about, and I think the high focus on weight loss is constantly, what can you do? How much more activity can you fit in? And the studies support, as important as activity is, the studies really support getting good rest.
Yeah.
To complement that activity is going to be as important, if not more important, as truly just being active.
So what I'm hearing you saying is, like, we usually think of doing things, and that's like, I'm going to go to the gym, I'm going to walk, I'm going to exercise, I'm going to ride my bike, I'm going to eat healthy food, like these positive, active things that I'm working on.
Sure.
But I think what we're talking about as well is we often don't think about sleeping as a positive, active thing that your body's doing to help you. But that's, I think, kind of how we need to change that mindset, right? Like, like sleeping isn't just turning off. It isn't just stopping your activity. There's actually things happening in your body that are an active, important part of the overall process that you're trying to go through. Is that right?
I think you're right on. The real thing that I can point out clinically when I see this in clinic is when a lot of patients will come in and, they're even on a GLP-1 or other kind of appetite suppressants. They feel like they've kind of got a lot of the eating stuff dialed in, yet a lot of times we're still struggling with increased appetite, or they're like, it's subduing my appetite a little bit, but it's still there. Why am I so hungry? Why am I so snacky? Why do I feel have these cravings? And a lot of times, once I dive into it with them, a lot of times the answer we end up coming up with is, you're getting 4 hours of sleep a night, and that's an interrupted 4 hours. If you're lucky, a lot of people do have the apps now and things on their watches, and they can show you, and their sleep is just all over the map. And
I've literally started on my watch. It gives me a sleep score.
Yeah.
And I did for the last maybe a couple of weeks. I've started using that. So I try to charge the phone, make sure my watch is charged. And I've done that in the past, usually because that's how you get an alarm clock. I don't want to wake my wife up.
Oh, that's smart.
So it just buzzes my wrist.
Because she needs her sleep.
She needs her sleep, right? and I get up some dang early hours sometimes. So, but I get this sleep score, and like it's like I get a 54. It's like, hey, maybe you should try to get to bed earlier tonight.
Yeah.
Get some good sleep. Yeah. Like my watch is telling me to do better.
Yeah. It's funny. We have a lot of tools now that we didn't have back in the day. I really do think still the best standard method is like, hey, did I go to sleep? How many times did I actually feel like I woke up? Because your sleep does fluctuate as you even see on that, on your watch,
right.
Where it, like, you kind of go in and out of phases of sleep and dreaming. And, sometimes if you're over 30, you're getting up once a night to go to the bathroom.
I wish I could get up once,
twice, maybe 6 times, but but as few times as possible.
Yeah, right. No, for sure.
And so, it really does come down to, what is your body doing when we're not getting this good rest? Prioritizing sleep, getting to bed at a similar time when we can. I know shift workers like us, we struggle with that a little bit because our schedules do change a lot. But generally speaking, getting in good habits is one of the biggest things about sleep. So even if you can be in those good habits for several nights a week, as opposed to just never caring about it and going, sleep doesn't make much of a difference in my health, or specifically, as we're talking about it, my weight or my overall wellness, really the studies would not agree with that.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about what is happening on the sleep, why it's important, and then maybe you talked about some healthy habits, and we can talk about good sleep hygiene is what we call it. Like what maybe are some things to try to improve your sleep so that these things happen. But let's touch on why this, like, why is sleep important? Why does it help me lose weight? Why does it make me hungrier if I don't sleep well? Like where does that come from?
Yeah. Well, I mean, a lot of it is the hormones. I mean, right. We talk about this all the time. And I think when you hear anyone in the medical field talk about hormones, you're thinking about sex hormones, right? You're thinking about estrogen or progesterone or testosterone. Yeah. Actually, like, I mean, your whole body is just a big chemistry set, and it's just everything's run by hormones,
right?
Releasing hormones for, yes, the sex hormones for all the various functions those do, but also you have hunger hormones, you have satiety hormones, you have all these other hormones that are at play. So when we're not sleeping properly, or if that's said right, right? If we're not having good sleep hygiene, if we're not kind of practicing being a good sleeper.
Maybe the simple way to do that is inadequate quality and inadequate quantity of sleep affects your body's hormones in
Absolutely.
a way that make you hungrier.
Yeah.
That's a simple breakdown.
Leptin, your satiety hormone, definitely increases if you're not getting good rest.
If you are getting good rest, the satiety one.
Sorry, it goes if you're getting good rest. I said that backwards.
You did.
So it decreases, right? And so you don't feel as satisfied with your food. You'll kind of, once again, breaking it down. I'm not getting good rest. I feel like I want to snack all day. I wake up hungry. I go to bed hungry, and that's very difficult to do. A lot of times a lot of times you can fight off that first, I feel hungry or snacky mode. But boy, after that's knocked on the door 4 or 5 times, you're probably getting something to eat.
Yeah, you're going to feel that. And I guess an easy way to think about it, and this isn't, it's trying to break down this. You said, your body's a chemistry set, right? And sometimes that's difficult to sort of put that in simple terms that is a little understandable. I think the way I think about that is when you don't get enough sleep, you don't get good enough sleep or enough sleep, your body interprets that as something's happening, something's stressful in the world that I need to respond to. I need to be ready for something bad. Yep. And so you increase your cortisol, you increase your ghrelin, you decrease your leptin. And so those things work together to make you feel like, oh man, your body, it sends those hormones around because it thinks there's stress in the world enough that I'm not sleeping well. And so I need to be ready to respond to something. I got to fuel this machine and be ready.
Yeah. And we've talked about this. I totally agree. I think you did a good job of explaining that. I think really what it comes down to is that, and we've talked about this before, is that our bodies are trying to survive. They really don't have a big interest in necessarily how you look in your bathing suit, or even how you feel necessarily, because survival is going to be its number one priority. It will bypass everything else to help you survive. These are survival mechanisms built into your body that says you have stress, you have something going on, something's not right.
Something's not right. You got to be ready for it and fuel the organism more to be ready.
Yep, to be ready for whatever it is. So your body thankfully actually has 2 separate systems that are running and operating at all times. And the two really, in a lot of ways, it's good that there's separation of church and state in this example. And because it really needs to have some separation, because naturally most of us, our survival instincts need to be strong enough to overpower any other, unimportant things that does not let us survive. Otherwise we would all it would be very easy to just not eat and just be the weight we want to be all the time. If we didn't have that autonomic system that just runs all the time that says you need to survive.
Yeah.
And so that's where the sleep comes in. And it's study after study after study that shows consistently that if you're not getting good sleep, especially if you're not prioritizing it. Look, I get there's some of you out there and you're going, boy, you've never had insomnia. You don't know how it is. And yes, there's certain special circumstances where someone is doing everything they can. They've tried all the tricks, and unfortunately they struggle with sleep. That's a whole nother level of insomnia. For the people that are just not getting good rest because they're not prioritizing sleep, we're not going to, like we were going to say, talk about specific times, going to bed at trying to.
So let's talk about the tricks.
The tricks.
The tricks, right?
Yep. Your eyes, the backs of your eyes has these photoreceptors, and they want if the sun's going down, you need to be starting to dim lights, big bright lights. An iPhone or an iPad in your eyes is not going to be helpful. Even around the same bedtime. Now it can be within a range. Not all of our lives operate on this very specific schedule. If yours does, great. Then try to set up a specific bedtime. But even coming up with a range where, look, I know my body knows I'm getting ready for bed around 11 o'clock.
Yeah. Well, and you can train your body that way, like on a specific bedtime. And kind of a bedtime routine.
Mm-hmm.
You do the same thing. Like I brush my teeth, whatever, and have the same time. And then what else you do, if you minimize other activities.
Yeah.
So your bed is for bedtime. It's for sleeping.
Yes.
Right. So a lot of people, I've told people in the past, helping sleep is get rid of the TV, take it out of the room.
Yeah.
Don't lay in bed, turn on the TV, watch a couple of episodes or whatever, or scroll on your phone for 45 minutes till you feel sleepy, or even read like a book, an actual physical book, whether it's a Kindle or an actual book. If you're not tired or sleepy and you need that, get up, go out of the room, sit in a chair, read, do something until you feel a little sleep, and then go back to the room so that your body is trained that when I lay down in bed, I don't do anything but sleep. And it learns that's what this is for. That I'm in my bed, I'm sleeping, and you can train your body a little bit better to do that rather than do other things that are not sleep in your bed.
I mean, this is down to basic science in terms of training your body. It's the Pavlov's. You ring the bell and they start salivating the second they know about the food. So your bed is the same thing, right? You lay into bed to sleep and your body goes right into that mode where it's like, oh, I come here to sleep. And you can really, really train your body and you will get an actual physical response of tiredness and being able to sleep better if you can truly train your body to say, hey, this bed, when I get in this thing, my body knows it's sleep time.
Yeah.
It's so important to focus in on that. One thing that also gets overlooked a little bit is caffeine intake, later caffeine intake. I think some people I've heard a lot of people, friends and patients in clinic that says, oh, caffeine doesn't affect me. Caffeine doesn't affect me. It doesn't affect me. I can drink.
Or I'm so used to it. It doesn't have any.
I'm immune. A fair point that if you say you can go to sleep, but really, what kind of quality of sleep are you getting? If you had caffeine within 6 to, caffeine's like any other, medication. It has a half-life, so it's usually about 6 to 8 hours. If you had caffeine within 6 to 8 hours before you go to bed, you can be assured that you're not better than your biology. You can't outsmart your biology. You're going to, even if you can go to sleep, you're not going to get as deep and as good a sleep if you're intaking.
Whether you're cutting quantity, you're cutting quality.
Sure.
And that's going to have that same effect on your hormones.
Absolutely.
And you're going to have more hunger, less satisfied feeling, and end up eating more.
Yep. Absolutely. Right. So get your rest, set up for 7 to 9 hours. We know it's not going to be the same every night. And we know there's not going to be some nights that just lend itself to good sleep. But if you can take out some of those barriers to good sleep, the bigger point here is that this is just one more barrier to why you're struggling with weight loss or struggling to maintain your weight loss. You've already lost the weight. And now you're like, I just want to keep it down there.
Yeah.
You got to get sleep.
And that's really, okay. So that's an important point. We'll probably emphasize that as frequently as we can is our whole objective here in sharing information and trying to educate ourselves and others is get to the point where you are feeling better, you're satisfied with your weight, and you can maintain that for the rest of your life. And that's really what we mean about sustainable, healthy lifestyle.
Absolutely.
Right now, I wouldn't beat yourself up. Like you say, 7 to 9 hours. That's great. That would be wonderful. Yeah. But I got a lot of things to do. I don't have time for that. Right. Or don't beat yourself up that I didn't get 9 hours of sleep. Like if you have been averaging 5 hours of sleep and you can kind of incorporate some of these tricks or skills and go from 5 to 5.5 or 6. I mean, so it's not 7 to 9. Don't beat yourself up about that. Take the small improvement, take a little bit better. it's not an all or none thing. It's not, oh, I stink at sleeping, or I'm really good. It's do a little bit better. That's what we're talking, incremental changes.
Yeah.
And work on that.
And your body will notice a difference. I mean, because once again, I mean, going from a 5-hour a night person to a 8-hour a night person, I mean, that's like a big jump. You're trying to almost double your sleep. That's not a realistic goal. With all the things we do here, we want it to be maintainable. We want it to be achievable.
Yeah.
And increasing to 3 more hours of sleep is likely, if you're getting 5, there's a reason for that. Now, maybe it is because you're up on your phone, but maybe it's because you have kids and you have a busy life or work or whatever it is. So one thing that comes to mind when you say that is, I've had a few patients in clinic. This has happened several times, actually more than I would expect, where they're like, look, I'm only getting 5 hours of sleep. So I'm like, oh, we figured it out. Well, that's your issue. Why are you only getting 5 hours of sleep? What are we doing? And the next thing they'll tell me is like, oh, well, because I have to wake up at 5 a.m. to go to the gym, and so if I don't do that, then I have to go home and I have to shower and I have to get ready for work. And so I need this and I'm like, I don't know that we're adding benefit to the gym, because we could talk all day about, we're just talking about some of the things it does for weight, but arguably your gym gains are not going to be nearly as notable if you're not getting that sleep. So it's about finding balance. It really is. Like, if you can even add an hour in there and still get your workout in and say, hey, what if I cut my workout down from an hour and a half to a half hour? What if I start working out at home instead of at the gym, so I don't have all that get ready time? There's so many things that you can do to say, I can increase my sleep while still getting a workout, because I don't want to discourage working out. But I mean, if you're getting 4 hours of sleep so you can work out, we're kind of,
it defeats a little bit of the purpose.
A little bit.
Well, so maybe one of the things, maybe we talk about other things you can do. Like if it's like, wow, I just need to put 2 hours in at the gym. Not everybody has to do that. And I would recommend that a lot of people just don't. And that is not a sustainable, healthy lifestyle change that a lot of people can just dive into and do.
Yeah.
Now, talking about activity though, let's transition a little bit to NEAT. It's a little acronym, right? Yeah. So it doesn't obviously have to be the gym. And we've talked about this a little bit. We touched on it, but it's called non-exercise activity thermogenesis, right?
I like NEAT. I can't say that.
NEAT is an acronym. So non-exercise activity thermogenesis. So what that means is the energy that your body burns just as you do your daily activities, right? Yeah. It's not specifically exercise designed to burn calories, build muscle, whatever.
Yeah.
It's just your regular stuff. So this is doing things like standing up during a phone call, or at a meeting, pacing, if your job involves talking on the phone a lot, pace back and forth, or use the stairs instead of the elevator, or like we talked about before, park in the end of the parking lot, and walk a few extra steps. These are kind of your regular daily activities that you do. Just make them incorporate a little bit more movement into those.
Yes.
And maybe you can still stay in bed for that extra hour and get some better sleep.
And I agree. It's one of those things that we don't think about. I mean, a non-traditional workout way of thinking about, I want to burn 300 to 500 extra calories in a day. How do I do that without going to the gym? And, you can incorporate all these things into your daily life. It doesn't have to be all at the same time. It doesn't have to be a specific method. We always talk about, hey, 2 to 4 things. Think of 2 to 4 things that you can do in a day. Most of us can think of 2 to 4 things that we can do in a day to increase NEAT. These really non-exercise things that we can do that can burn a bunch of extra calories. And sure, so when you can get your traditional workout in, perfect. But let's just say that we're not going to get enough sleep, and we really want to continue to progress and losing weight or keeping the weight down or being healthy. Sometimes think NEAT. Think like, hey, I'm going to get that extra hour of sleep, and then I'm just going to use NEAT throughout the day to be able to increase those extra calorie burn. And you know what? Tomorrow I'm going to prioritize a little bit better. I have a little bit freer schedule. I can get to bed a little bit earlier, and then I can go ahead and get in my traditional workout.
Yeah. As you're talking about that, it just reminds me. So that I'll reminisce just a little bit. Mm-hmm. Back in 2005 and 2007, we had a little military operation in Iraq. Yeah. You were there. I've been there.
Yep.
And it's interesting how my mindset changed. Like when I came back from deployment in the desert, I was ready to just walk I was just chill about getting places. Yeah. Like I'm not in a hurry to get anywhere. And you're talking about do different things. Like we would, I lived right by the dining facility 2. So we call it DFAC, dining facility.
Yeah.
The DFAC 2, it was there with most of the Air Force stuff and good food, you eat dinner or whatever. But occasionally it's like, hey, over at DFAC 1 on the Army side, they've got a better dinner tonight. We're like, let's walk over there and do that. Let's go there. And like, how do we make there? We're going to walk. Well, that's 4.5 miles. Okay. And so we just walk.
Just go
4.5 miles.
Yeah.
Walk to dinner, walk back. And like, I wasn't in a hurry. I wasn't stressed about, getting there or anything. And now I think about, as you're talking about that, just increase your activity a little bit. You don't have to walk an extra 4 hours for 4 miles for dinner. But as I did that, it really has changed my mindset. I'm like, you know what, I can walk. I can, like, if I want to go around the couple blocks to the neighbor's house, I don't need to get my car.
Yeah.
I'll just walk there. I've walked 4 miles for dinner.
Yeah.
I
mean, everyone,
it just really changed.
Everyone in our city could end up going to war for a few months, and they would all just slow down and realize that them rushing through traffic is not that big of a deal. It's probably not an emergency. I'll tell you, I got back and when sometimes when I drive with my wife, she's like, "Oh, are you driving 5 over the speed limit and all that stuff?"
Not in a hurry.
When I got back from being overseas, I used to actually speed a lot, and I would get tickets when I was younger. That all went away after I got back from Iraq, because I just realized what an actual emergency was, and I stopped worrying about like having to pedal to the metal everywhere you go. That's just what you reminded me of. I'm like, gosh,
okay, nothing to do with weight loss, but I still avoid like random trash in the roads.
Oh yeah,
too.
100%.
Because you never know.
You never know what could be under that trash. It's that changes you, but it's a good example of just some of the things that you kind of go through and you start realizing back in your life the things that sometimes we'll do to avoid activity. Some of the things we'll do, we'll sit there and wait for the bus to take us a block instead of realizing that we could have just walked there. And so just use these things as saying like, hey, if you don't need to get in your vehicle to go somewhere, if it's just down the way, or it's like, I joke around about people walking to their mailbox, right? Who walks to the mailbox anymore? Walk to your mailbox.
Yeah.
Just do some little things to add in some activity, and, take an extra few minutes. And yeah, maybe you didn't make it to the gym today, but you walked to the mailbox. You did something more than you normally do. Yeah. And so just take advantage of that.
You have increased your non-exercise activity thermogenesis. Say that 4 times.
I know. Say it.
Okay. So sleep, metabolism, it's important. Increasing your activity a little bit. Let's talk about some science.
Yep.
For a couple of minutes. We've got a little bit. We call this segment "Getting the Skinny on Science." How about that?
We're going to do a segment every week now that's called "Get the Skinny on Science," and it is just, we want to talk about a study. We want to talk about something that me and Rick read studies all the time, and then we talk about them. We'd love to just talk about them here and actually talk about some science, since that's both of our background.
And people are constantly doing research, and a lot of this has to do with GLP-1s. We've really focused on that a lot, and the type of medication, of what benefit they really have, how one compares to the other, but then other things like how to manage side effects and why do people quit. So it's all kinds of stuff, and people are always doing research or looking at other studies. So there was a review recently, just talking about this. I got it pulled up here. In the journal Clinical Obesity, they kind of looked at 6 different studies and analyzed all the data on people who use GLP-1 medications. This is the number of patients in these 6 studies combined was almost 500,000 people on these medications. And this is, Ozempic, Wegovy, Mounjaro. And what they looked at was what the effect was on their vitamins or micronutrients and things. And we talked about that a little bit as well. But so they kind of categorized people who are on these medications. What specifically are they low in? Yeah. And vitamin D was the champion.
Vitamin D, I will tell you without a doubt, I check a ton of labs. Vitamin D is in almost all of them, especially on your initial check when you're at the clinic. And I used to do this in family practice as well. And chronically, people are low on vitamin D.
Yeah. And more so, this data showed that if you're on a GLP-1 medication specifically, you are 49% more likely to have a vitamin D deficiency than people on other diabetes medicines.
Yep.
That's a big difference.
Huge. And so why is that? We should probably talk about the why. The why is the reduction of appetite and the reduction of overall intake, right?
Yeah, right.
So you're getting this weight loss, and we Rick said it best, and I'll never forget it. We're trying to reduce calories, not nutrients.
Yeah.
Your goal is to reduce your overall weight by reducing some of the calorie intake, but if you're going to reduce the nutrients, then you have to pay attention to that. And so, you need to work with your provider to get some of these labs checked if you want to get an initial baseline of where you're at. But even if you're not going to get labs, then it's good to know. And we'll talk about a few other things that were found in that study to be low, but you need to supplement or get more foods with nutrients.
Some real foods with those nutrients in them.
Yep.
Yeah. And so it's honing down into some more, you could call it real food rather than ultra processed food. And we can go whole another thing on that one sometime. Okay. So vitamin D is one. Iron is another one. And that tends to, there's a supposition on that is that the GLP-1 medications, they decrease your iron absorption. So how well your body can do that. So it's kind of a side effect.
Yeah. It's the slowed gastric emptying is where that comes in. And so iron can be sensitive to a lot of things and even certain foods. And so a lot of times, yes, it can decrease your absorption. One thing I found in clinic, especially with women that are still menstruating, is that even ones that were not anemic before can oftentimes lose weight. We can kind of watch that hemoglobin and hematocrit dropping. We can start to see some of these signs that are of anemia. And the first thing that I'll usually hear from them is energy. My energy's
low. I feel just drained.
It's like the early, sometimes increased headaches, right? Like they've been fine. We haven't had any headaches. That's a known side effect of GLP-1s. But I don't see it a ton. A lot of people usually do well and kind of get over that usually after a short time. But all of a sudden now they're having some mild headaches and they're kind of just sticking around. And, I'm more tired than I was. And we're still not in a crazy calorie deficit where I'd expect them to be, run down tired. We'll do some labs oftentimes once we've kind of said, hey, look, this isn't just a lifestyle things. And what do we find? We find that they're a lot of times sometimes even it's just early iron deficient anemia and or vitamin D's low or both.
And number three, third place winner on nutrient deficiencies of GLP-1 medics is vitamin B.
Yeah,
vitamin B1. And there are actually some case reports in some of these studies or related to these studies about patients getting what's called Wernicke's encephalopathy. So this is a condition, a neurologic condition that extreme severe alcoholics who are unbelievably malnourished as far as overall nutrition get, and it causes some unexplained neurologic symptoms, and it can be severe, it can be life-threatening. And there are some case reports of patients on GLP-1s who got that. And so anyway, the overall is though, I mean, you're not going to, that's one in a bunch, 500,000 studies, but there is a lot of vitamin B deficiency. So your D, your iron, and your B tend to be the ones that are most likely deficient.
Yeah. And you think about B vitamins, I mean, so important for metabolism and really helping with your overall wellness, your energy, your the way that your body breaks down food and uses it. And then, B vitamins just do so much. And it's wild to think of a medication. Does that mean that we should just throw these GLP-1s out? They're no good.
No.
People are low on nutrients, right? No, this is actually, interestingly enough, even though GLP-1s are obviously, because they're so popular, they're studying them more and they're finding these effects. What this is doing and what me and Rick's goal is to actually give you the information so that this doesn't happen to you.
Yeah.
Or, it's something to talk with your medical provider about and say, hey, where am I at with it?
And that's what I wanted to emphasize is really, this is, as we talk about this little study review that we're talking about, 500,000 patients looking at these nutrient deficiencies with your vitamin D, your vitamin B, and your iron, among other things. There's other stuff that's sometimes low, but it emphasizes, I think, the importance of having a relationship with your medical provider, right? That's what we talk about on our disclaimer. We're talking about all kinds of things, but we aren't your medical provider. We're just two guys.
We might not be.
There are probably a few people that we might be.
There might be one person following that's a patient. Thank you.
But it's important to do that because these things can be monitored. You can find these out. These are levels that can be checked. And I would say ought to be, especially if you are on some medically assisted, if you're on medication for weight loss, and which then includes, other programs that you're working on. That's something that you need to be aware of. Your provider needs to be aware of, and that's something that ought to be checked regularly.
Absolutely.
So you can kind of see where you're at and see, am I supplementing enough? How's my nutrition levels? How's my body responding and getting these nutrients to a usable level in my thing. So I think that's just an important.
Because we're doing this to feel better, and a lot of times when people lose weight and they sometimes get that kind of look that we've seen. This is before GLP-1s. Anyone that loses weight rapidly or does it without nutritional guidance, someone watching their labs, making sure that we're not losing weight. I mean, is there losing weight too quick? Probably, yeah, if you're starving yourself. But I don't like to discourage the amount of weight loss you're having. Everyone loses weight at a different speed. Some people are just they have to fight for every pound, and other people, boy, they really, it just falls off.
Yeah.
And so depending on where you're on that, it doesn't really matter as long as we know that you're getting enough nutrients. And because really, I mean, I've talked to a lot of people that have lost their weight very quickly, and they kind of look like they're nutritionally deficit. I don't even mean that in a rude or in like a rude way. Like maybe you're not doing this for looks, that's fine. But I mean, they don't look well or healthy. And a lot of times it really is just because I think that they're not, or their medical provider, maybe they're getting it online somewhere and no one's monitoring this stuff. I know a ton of people, a ton of good friends that actually don't go through my clinic. And they know that's probably where they'd go through if they were wanting to kind of go legit and get this from a real medical provider. They are getting it online somewhere from a research-based pharmacy. And so the disadvantage there, besides getting it from somewhere that is not accredited or verified or approved, is who's monitoring all this stuff.
Right. Who's monitoring? Who's checking your lab work? Who's comparing that to what it ought to be?
Yep.
I'm looking at that.
And if you have symptoms,
this is about being healthier ever after. And it is not healthy to have nutrition deficiencies and vitamin deficiencies, and that is unhealthier.
Yep. Calorie deficit, not a nutritional deficit.
That's what we want.
Rick coined, and I will say it a million times before I'm out of this world.
Yay. I made a mark.
Well, we do. You did, at least on me.
On you. I influenced one person. Awesome. No, it's great. And I think that's important. So anyway, that's our Skinny on Science is just being aware, raising awareness of GLP-1 medication specifically is what this study is about. But anytime you're working on trying to, lose some weight, you're at risk for a nutritional deficiency, not just a calorie deficiency. So we want to avoid that. Okay, well, I think that's good.
I think it is good too. We're going to start a new segment. We talked about it, but we forgot. We're going to do supplement. And this kind of ties in actually.
Yeah, because we want to maybe supplement some of these vitamins.
I know it won't be on any today. The one that we were going to do is on omega-3s, and we weren't going to do, and I'm going to pull this up so I don't mess it up because there's a million vitamins out there, but we were going to talk about omega-3. So supplement of the week.
Yeah.
So we want to start doing that. And that's really just to talk about one specific supplement, because this supplement stuff can get overwhelming. Me and Rick, we have a website, getweightwise.com.
Yep.
And that's the supplements we use, and that's the supplements we recommend and that we are all for. But really, it's about just finding a good person, a good quality supplement.
Yep.
Probably name brand. It usually will do the trick. But really, what we were the big thing on the omega-3s. These are fatty acids. They usually come by way of fish. Like of sea life. And so, but not a lot of us, maybe some of you, but not a lot.
Some people don't like fish. Some people don't. It can be expensive.
Sometimes it's far and few in between. It's like, I eat fish once a month. So omega-3s are good for cardiovascular health, as far as they work for the overall body. Studies have found they can reduce inflammation. Also have found that they can improve insulin sensitivity. We also know that they can raise HDL. So this is the good cholesterol, right? We always talk about cholesterol like it's a bad thing. Well, not all cholesterol is created equal, and HDLs are good cholesterol. So we know that it's healthy for your heart. Now, I will give a caveat to this. There's been some recent studies that come out, and I don't have those right in front of me to be able to reference, but actually saying that some people thought, well, if 2 omegas as recommended by the bottle is good, then 4 is great. They actually found that doing too much omega-3s or omega-3 fatty acids can increase your risk for stroke. And so you don't want to be overdoing it on these. you just want to be going with the recommended amount daily so that you're getting that nutritional need met, especially if you don't get a lot of fish. If you eat fish every day, you probably don't need to be supplementing. Even a few times a week, you probably don't need to be supplementing with an omega-3. But if you don't get those good fatty omega-3s, then we recommend that you maybe consider supplementing that. And our recommendation, once again, educational purposes only, not for anything else. And so, yeah, you go find a good one, go to our website or wherever you want to go, and supplement with those if you think like it's necessary. Talk to your medical provider, see if they think it's necessary.
Yeah.
More is not better. Don't overdo it.
Great. Okay. So get some good sleep. Let it work for you. Increase your activity and check with your provider about your potential nutritional deficiencies.
Yep.
Okay. Until next time, this is Healthier Ever After. Thanks for tuning in. And I think we kind of harped on the importance of checking in with your medical provider this time, right?
Yeah, we'll say it all the time.
This is that's not us. We're here for education and information. But please always check with your own provider before doing any of these programs, medications, supplements, whatever you're going to change. All right. Thank you much.
We'll see you next week.
We'll see you next week.